In this video, we're going to learn how to create navbars using Bootstrap. We're going to be creating a navbar similar to this one. So let's explore together the behavior of our navbar in different viewports. So in large devices, you can see that all the elements of the navbar are visible. But if we decrease the width of the viewports and go for smaller devices under 768 pixels, we can see that all these elements, they will collapse, and instead we can see a toggle button that will allow us to access those elements. Okay? So to make it easy, the navbar contains a couple of main components. So the first component is a navbar header, which consists of a brand, in our case it's store, and a toggle button. Okay? And the other component is the collapsible content, which is shown, or which consists of all these elements. So links, forms, buttons, whatever. Okay? So let's create our navbar. So first thing, we need to place the navbar outside our container. Okay? So we're going to use the nav tag, and we're going to need to give the tag a role navigation, and we're going to use a few classes. The main one is going to be navbar. Okay, so that will create the navbar, and then we need another class to style the navbar. We can go for navbar default, and you can see the gray color for the navbar. We can use navbar inverse to go for the black version, as we have done here. Okay. Next, we need a container inside the nav. So it's going to be a div of class container, or container fluid if you want to. Okay, and then inside the container we can place our couple of components: the navbar, header, and then the collapsible content. So let's start with the navbar header. So it's going to be a div of class navbar header. Okay, and we'll place both the brand and the toggle button inside this navbar header. So let's start with the brand. So it's going to be a link. Okay. Okay, and we need to give it a class navbar brand. Okay, and now let's move to the button. So we're going to create a button using the button tag. Okay, and let's give it a type button, and also a class of navbar toggle. Okay, all right. So let's see how to create these bars inside the button. All we're going to do, we're going to place a few spans inside the button and give them a class icon bar. So let's start with the first span and give it a class icon bar. So you can see the first bar. If we duplicate this, we're going to have a second bar and a third bar. And that's exactly what we wanted. Okay? All right. Just for assistive technologies, we can place another span just before these bars with some text in it saying toggle navigation, and we can give it a class SR only, so that it's hidden. All right. Okay. So now we're going to move to the collapsible content. So the first component we said is the navbar header, and now we're going to move to another div, and this time is the collapsible content. I'm going to give it a class of navbar collapse and collapse. Okay, let's give it an ID as well. We will need this ID to link it to the toggle button. Okay, so let's give it an ID navbar collapse for now. Okay, and let's place a few elements inside this navbar collapse. So let's go for an ordered list, for example. Okay, so we need to give the list a class of navbar nav. Okay, and inside the list, let's have a few list items, a few links. So the first one, let's go for all products, and then help, and then departments. So all products. So I'm going to place this inside a link. All products. Okay, let's add an href to the link. You can add an href if you want to, and also let's have a class, because this one is active. So we're just going to add a class to the link itself, to the list item itself, which is going to be active. So our toggle button doesn't work at the moment, but if we expand this, we can see the elements being added. Okay, so let's add another list item, the link in it. So this time it's going to be help and then departments. So help, href, nothing for now, and finally let's add departments. Okay, and for now we'll see later how to create drop down menus in Bootstrap, but for now let's just create this arrow using a span with a class of carrots. Okay, fine. Okay, so now we will need to link the toggle button to the collapsible content. So the way to do that, okay, is going to be to go back to the button. So first we are going to need a data target. So Bootstrap comes with some pre-built data attributes that will allow us to create some interaction on in our web page without having to write any JavaScript code. So by using these data attributes, we will make this button collapse and expand our collapsible content without using any JavaScript. So the first attributes you're going to use here is going to be data target, which is going to be our collapsible content, and we're going to use, we're looking here at our navbar collapse. Okay, so we're looking at the elements of ID navbar collapse. Okay, So number sign followed by the ID. And then we need a data toggle. Okay. That says that we are collapsing the elements navbar collapse. Now if you click on the toggle button, we can see how it works. Okay. Let's refresh the page. Okay. Okay, now let's add a few more things inside our collapsible content. So let's add a search form. Okay, so let's go after the list and create a form. So we want, so first of all, we need to use a class for the form. It's going to be navbar form. Okay, and we want to align this form to the left. So we're gonna use another class, navbar left, and we can add a role if we want to. Left. We can add a role search to this form. Okay. Now to create these inputs and attach a button to it with a glyph icon, as we have done earlier in the forms section, we need to place everything inside an input group. So we're going to use a div, okay, with a class input group. Okay, so first we need to start with a so the button is going to be placed inside a span of class input group button. We have done this earlier, if you remember. So let's create a span, okay, and give it a class input group button. And now we're gonna put our button inside this span. So the button is going to be of type submit, and we're going to give it a class button, and to style it like this, button info. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's put some text in the button. Go, and here we go. All right. Now let's move to our search inputs. So you're going to go for input. So the type is text. Let's give it an ID, search, and we need the form control class. Okay. And let's have a placeholder as well. Search. Okay, and before we move on, we need, okay, as a good practice, we need a label for all our inputs. So even if we want the label to be hidden, we still need a label. Okay, and let's use the class SR only to hide the label. Okay, so finally, let's go for a search glyph icon. So we're going to use a span. Okay. and I'm going to give it a class. So glyph icon, and then glyph icon search. And we need another class, form control feedback. Okay. All right. Now let's create our login button. So we're going to place that inside the form. Okay. It's always good to place all form elements inside a navbar form. It shows it's good for an optimized display. So let's create another form. Okay, and give it a class navbar form, and this time we want the form to be aligned to the right. Okay, so we're going to use the class navbar right rather than navbar left. So navbar right. Okay, and let's create our input. So we're not going to use a button. We're going to use an input. Okay. And we're going to give it a class button, and then button success. So you can see that it's taking too much width at the moment, but when we add the type button, we can see the difference. And now let's just add a value showing login. Okay. You can see that our navbar is working. We can use the toggle button in small viewports. Okay. And now one final thing before we finish. Let's add a class to the navbar, so that we can have a fixed top navbar. So let's create some content inside our container fluid for now. Let's create a few paragraphs. Okay. So at the moment, you'll see that if we scroll down, the navbar goes away, and if we want the navbar to be fixed, so we can just use another class for the navbar. It's going to be navbar fixed top. Okay. Okay, let's add a few more paragraphs. So now you can see that the navbar now is fixed at the top. We can use navbar fixed bottom as well. It gives a similar behavior. Okay, let's keep it at the top for now. One thing is you can notice that there is some content that is actually behind the navbar. So if we select the first paragraph, it's actually there. Okay, so we can avoid that by styling this container, adding a margin top, for example, of 60 pixels. Okay, so now our first paragraph starts there. Okay.